Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I have advocated for sometimes strong measures to deter and counter the blatant Russian aggression in Ukraine and around the globe, the assault on democracies through cyber and disinformation. But Ukraine is a blatant, ongoing instance of physical force that violates standards of common decency and norms of international law. The obligation of the United States to provide lethal military assistance, I think, is clear. I've advocated for some time, and we've included it in the National Defense Authorization Act. The Department of State has cleared the sale of Javelin anti-tank missiles to Ukraine, which is a long overdue move to increase Ukraine's defense capabilities. Although lethal, these arms are essentially defensive in nature. Would you agree with me that more of these type of weapons are necessary to deter and counter Russian aggression against Ukraine?
I think for what we're providing of those types of weapons right now, I would personally, my best military advice would say, let's put this into play. We've got training, et cetera, that we need to do. And then take a look at the situation from that point. There is more, and there is equipment that they can use effectively that we in Eucom will continue to advise Congress and provide our best advice for what will help them most.
Sure.
Let me ask a very simple question, which may be overly simplistic, but are we winning in Ukraine? Aren't the Russians effectively winning in accomplishing their objective?
Tim can come over. I'm pretty sure he won't be able to defeat.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your definition of win. I would say that we're not progressing because our interest there is to resolve this conflict.
And if we're not progressing, we, meaning we and Ukraine, are losing.
I don't know that I would say we're losing. I would say, again, we're not progressing. We're more or less at a stalemate in where we're at. If you look at Ukraine, the reason I would say we're not losing is Ukraine's forces, for instance, are steadily getting stronger and much more confident. The nation itself is...
Excuse me, General, let me interrupt for just a moment. Forgive me for this, but Senator Scott presiding. Go ahead.
And the government itself, in terms of the reforms that they want and we expect as well, is moving forward. Not at the pace we want, but it is moving forward. So I said, so even within that conflict still residing, I think we're making progress in important ways, and we should continue to press in that direction.
We're making progress, do you think, in countering the endemic corruption that has existed? Is that what you meant by reforms?
That's part of it, yes. You know, they just voted for their anti-corruption law, the first vote of 3 they think they have to take. That law is not everything we wanted in it, but it's a step in the right direction as well.
Because 2 years ago at this hearing, exactly this kind of hearing, I asked your predecessor, General Breedlove, about the issue of corruption. He acknowledged that there was a lot to be done. It was a very unfortunate problem, and I wonder whether there's more that can be done by your command to counter it.
It is still a problem, as I just noted in the law. Between us and our interagency, particularly state, we continue to press. We've got, you know, we have personnel both in the mission there with the embassy, but also a multinational joint committee that meets regularly, works with state and with the other nations that are involved as well in progressing both capability building and the reform of their security institution. We need to continue to press in that regard. I think that there is more that can be done in terms of other assets that we can bring to bear.
I just want to note, finally, the because I'm almost out of time, the FY19 budget request includes increases for the European Deterrence Initiative and the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. There is $200 million for the Ukraine Security Initiative, $50 million above the President's request from the previous year. In addition, the President's asked for $6.5 billion for EDI, $1.7 billion more than last year. I assume, I hope, that you would agree these investments in our defensive capability are important in Ukraine because they demonstrate resolve against Russian aggression there, but also in Europe generally and around the world.
I agree. They're foundational in Ukraine to the activity that we have there and the progress that both we and their nation, and particularly their forces, are making.
Thank you. Thank you, General, and thank you for your
You're
service.
welcome.